Alright, boy was this a big one. That's what she said. You know, future pop is a pretty complicated genre, and although it's supposed to be a more simplified version of future bass that's marketed as radio friendly and something that everyone can listen to, I've been spending pretty much night and day for the past 2 weeks finishing up this banger smash hit for y'all. But it's definitely worth it. I mean, just check the top 10 leaderboards. And lately that's pretty much why I haven't been uploading as frequently, but honestly I've been spending a lot of time with this song trying to get the vocals just right. And speaking of vocals, I just released my Acapellas and Vocal Chops Volume 2 sample pack that I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for. It's got almost 30 completely original, royalty-free acapella stems that collectively spans over 35 minutes long, fitting almost any genre and key. And as a thank you to you guys, it's on sale for a limited time only. If you use the code YouTube at checkout, you'll get 25% off. Don't wait, you're not going to want to miss out on this. Plus, I just redesigned my website, so you should check that out too. I know you'll love it. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, I started the track with a tempo around 112 BPM. As you guys know, the #1 comment I get on my videos is for me to release my songs on Spotify, Apple Music, etc. So that's exactly what I'm doing with this track. It'll be released on all platforms May 22nd, 2020. So if you're watching this from the future, say what's up. And make sure to check the link in the description so you don't miss out. Next up, add an acapella like the ones found in my acapella pack.
How could you do this? You're such a mystery, you cover the bruises and make me feel relieved.
Next, I made a simple guitar pattern using a Nexus guitar with some post-processing to make it sound more realistic. Next, I recorded the same melody with an actual guitar and applied a similar processing. Then I took some weird clicks that I got from a voice memo and added some distortion and reverb to them to make the whole clip sound more realistic. Here's what they all sounded like together. Next, I added some vinyl to the intro to get the atmosphere sounding less empty. For the beginning of the verse, I added some strings that had a lot of body to them. Then I added some brighter pads to fill up the high end a bit. I also added a piano to give some strength to the whole arrangement. I changed a little bit of the guitars for the verse to give it some variation. Whoosh. I added some jazz rides for high end. Add some snappy claps with some reverb. Once we have our foundation down, it's time to start mixing the atmosphere. To do this, I like to take random one-shots, pitch them to key, and add a ton of reverb to them, occasionally panning things left and right for more variety. Keeping the same concept in mind, I added this soundscape. I added a downlifter, but I didn't want the high end to be too bright, so I pitched it down to get rid of some of the higher frequencies around the 18 kHz mark. I also added this violin being panned from left to right for ambience. Add this cymbal reverse. Let's hear what a finished intro and verse sounds like together so far. Before I start my build-up, I like to add something new to the track to give the listener a little heads up that something new is starting. I usually like to do this with drums. Next, I added this heavily distorted lead for a top line. I also switched up the groove on the piano we used earlier. Then I added a bunch of electronic risers and sweeps to really keep the momentum up. Future pop is a genre that usually incorporates a lot of acoustic elements found in modern pop music and mixes them with future bass, so for this part I added some acoustic snares. I I also added some marching snares for the build-up that'll be used later in the drop. Also added some trappy snares with a ping pong delay to them. I added some high-pass snappy snares to a reggaeton rhythm. I also added some shakers. Stomp. It's not a future pop song without clock ticks. I also added literally just the same snare buildup from my track Lose My Mind. I reversed some Foley and some sweeps to make a whoosh sound effect. Make sure to reverse them again near the end of the buildup. I also added this little ask and answer thing to the melody in my vocals using this pluck. For this part I made the sweep a little brighter since the energy is supposed to be higher. I made sure to add the drop vocal chops in the build-up, as well as slowly fading them in with a low-pass filter. Don't forget to add pre-drop fills. Let's hear what a finished build-up sounds like so far. For the drop, I started with a tight, punchy kick. I also used one of the snares from my pack and boosted the fundamental frequency, giving it more tone. Instead of boosting the high frequencies of the snare, I added a white noise sample to give it more high end. I added a crash following the kick drum pattern. Add trappy hi-hats to give it a more poppy type feel. I also added in the reggaeton high-pass snares from earlier. I mixed it with a mid-range snare that I panned left and right for some variation in the stereo space as well. Here's the marching snare pattern for the drop. Also, to add more high end to the drums, I took that same loop, pitched it up 4 semitones with a speech algorithm, and added some high pass, some stereo separation, and finally some distortion to blend it out a little more. Here's what that sounds like. Add some more drum loops. Some 4 on the floor rides for rhythm. And some jazzy rides from the beginning of the track. A Foley loop for texture. Some vinyl again. Some tropical drums. Here's a white noise pattern that I made to give some high end to the drums. First I started by bouncing my kicks and snares into one track as a carrier. Then I took a simple white noise line and routed them both to a compressor, where I adjusted the ratios to make the white noise match the transient shapes of the drum loop. I turned up the downlifter to create a big release of energy once the drop hits. Also some more impacts for variation. And this open hi-hat to keep the drums more interesting. Let's hear what all the drums and effects together sound like. I added a pretty simple 808 bass line with some distorted variations in it. To give more impact to those slides, I added a perk. To keep the song sounding like a signature future pop track, I layered about 5 brass samples following the bass line. Here's what they all sounded like layered. Remember to add the soundscapes from earlier, as well as the one-shots. For the drop, I added the build-up guitars, but put a low cut on them and turned the volume down. I also added some synth plucks. Here's a cool little woodwind arp that I really like too. Can't forget the cinematic drum lines. To start off the second half of the drop, I have this fill playing. For the vocal chops, I sang a melody in a lower octave and put a heavy amp on it. Then I took that same recording and pitched it up an octave with the monophonic algorithm, and I put a slightly different amp on it. And finally, I added some pitch vocal recordings with some OTT, tube distortion, and other processing. I felt like it lacked a little high end, so I added this little white noise lead from Serum. I also wanted to add a few tonal harmonics to the high end, so I added this lead. Here's what that sounded like together. And to make the lead sound more on-tempo, I added a soft percussion line to keep everything nice and tight. To emphasize the chorus, I kept repeating the title of the song, I Still Love You.
'Cause I still love you.
I also had the vocal chops to do the same thing.
'Cause I still love you.
Oh yeah, and for the bridge I added this really big low-pass saw bass. I made the brass shards more sparse as well. And for this part, I put Christian Gates on the track for a feature. A lot of his vocals are on my pack as well.
Yeah, move your body side to side. Let me see that up, down, left and right. With your 2 feet, you can move like this. Take 1 step forward and
I made sure to add a heavier snare to the reggaeton loop as well. I made this marching band loop follow our other snare loop too. Now with everything together, let's hear our finished result that'll be out on all platforms starting May 22nd, titled I Still Love You.
without you, I'm just a mess, oh yeah. What you do just makes my head spin, oh yeah. So put your love in me and I'll take it slow, and we can dance through the night to the radio. I'm not feeling so high off the ground, but when I look in your eyes, it's like there's nothing around, oh no. How could you do this? You're such a mystery, you cover the bruises and make me feel relief. All your love and nothing more, you left my heart out on the floor, and I can't live if it ain't you, 'cause I still love you. 'Cause I still love you. 'Cause I still love you. What you're doing to me is not over, 'cause I can't feel anything when I'm sober. Well, I can't help but get high and rebound, 'cause when I'm thinking of you, it's like there's nothing around, oh no. How could you do this? You're such a mystery, you cover the bruises and make me feel relief. All your love and nothing more, you left my heart out on the floor, and I can't live if it ain't you, 'cause I still love you. 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 Move your body side to side. Let me see that up, down, left and right. With your 2 feet, you can move like this. Take 1 step forward and a little twist. She got 2 legs and a pretty face. Every time I see you, got me in a daze, yeah. One love, give me one more kiss. We can live another life like this. Cause I still love you. Cause I still love you. Cause I still love you.
Hey guys, if you made it this far into the video, then please consider subscribing. It's free and it really helps me out. And if you want royalty-free acapellas, I suggest checking out my pack in the description. You won't regret it. See you guys next time, and cheers.